welcome to the Aboriginal channel. This will be part 2 to the Indigenous American and Indigenous European connection. So we were talking about the Bell Thugs up in Newfoundland. So right here on the article I found, it says, are you ready for some controversy? The history of the Redskin. So basically, they were the first tribe that Europeans came in contact with. So right here it says, but where did the word redskin come from? Many dictionaries and history books say the term came about in reference to the Bearthuk tribe of what is now Newfoundland, Canada. The Bearthuk were said to paint their bodies with red ochre, leading white settlers to refer to them as red men. According to the Smithsonian historian Ives Goddard, early historical records indicate that redskin was used as a self-identifier by Native Americans to differentiate between the two races. That's what the term redskin developed into. It was originally applied to the Bearthuk tribe because of the red ochre that they painted their bodies with. But to get a little deeper into this, we got to look over here because they did name a national football team the Washington Redskins. We need to look at George Washington, the so-called first president of the United States, down here at his military service, where it says his first battle or wars was in the French and Indian War. And in the French and Indian War, the connection that we're going to make right there is the fact that where the fighting took place at says British settlers outnumbered the French with a population of 1.5 million ranged along the Atlantic coast of the continent from Nova Scotia and the colony of Newfoundland. From my understanding, I would say that the reason they memorialized George Washington with the football team, the Washington Redskins, is because, like it said, there was 1 million to 2 million Englishmen brought over here, and over time, starting with the French and Indian War in the 1763, you had the Revolutionary War not too long after that, to where they continued to gain ground and gain land, starting right here in Newfoundland or Terra Nova or New Land. This was their base of operations, starting with the Redskins, in which they conquered first. They went on to conquer other tribes of people who they scattered about and pushed down further, which became confederations like the Iroquois and the Algonquins, the Powhatans, the Pamunkeys, and all this. This is giving a broader example of how things went with our people here in the North American continent. But moving on, down here in that article, it says, some scholars think that the Basquets may indeed be the descendants of the Cro-Magnon populations that occupied the area in prehistorical times and that made the famous rock paintings and graffiti discovered inside many caves in this territory. So they were descendants of the Cro-Magnon. Now, an example of the Cro-Magnon can be shown in Cheddar Man. It says Cheddar Man was discovered in 1903. His bones were covered in sediment in a cave in Cheddar Gorge in Somerset, England. The cave, Coffs Cave, holds many human remains, including older skeleton remains from Cro-Magnon hunter-gatherers. So this is Cheddar Man, and this is a prime example of a Basque people. So now we're going to make one more connection between the Basques and the Algonquins, which were the Bearthuks. Basically, over there in Europe, the Basques were one of the last Aboriginal peoples to convert to Christianity. Right here it says that Jonas Lezaraga, a Catholic priest who joined the Reformation, translated the New Testament into Basque in 1571. Okay, so they tried to convert the Basques by making the Bible in their language. And when you look over at the Algonquins in America, you'll see John Eliot Bible. The Eliot Indian Bible was the first Bible published in British North America. English Puritan missionary John Eliot produced a translation of the King James Bible into the Indigenous Massachusetts language. But let's go back over here. So in 1571, they made this Bible in the Basque language, and they wanted to convert the people. When that did not happen, you had what was called the Basque witch trials. The Basque witch trials of the 17th century represents the last serious attempt at rooting out witchcraft from Navarre by the Spanish Inquisition. Now, they call witchcraft the original religion of the people there. And when you go back over to the Algonquin area of North America, you'll see that they had the Salem witch trials in 1692 and 1693. John Eliot produced that book, published that New Testament in 1661. So there's another connection between the Aboriginal Europeans and the Aboriginal Americans. And the last bit of information to this is the fact that John Eliot published the New Testament of the Algonquin Bible in 1661, and the Salem witch trials were in 1692, a matter of 31 years apart. When you look at the Basquets witch trials, took place in 1609, which was about 38 years after the Basque Bible was put out. To top it off, the Algonquins, I looked up right here at the Algonquins ushistory.com. It says, furthermore, they were believers in witchcraft and were quite reluctant to disclose their actual names, fearing that enemies with spiritual powers would use them with malicious intent. So the Algonquins did believe in witchcraft. The Basques, it says right here, the ancient witch cult of the Basques. So they also believed in witches. One last thing right here. A guy named Diego de Landa was a Spanish bishop of the Roman Catholic Archdiocese of Yucatan. Many historians criticize his campaign against idolatry. In particular, he burned almost all the Maya manuscripts, codices, that would have been very useful in deciphering Maya script, knowledge of Maya religion and civilization, and the history of the American continent. So you go down here and look at what he used to do. It says right here, Landa's Inquisition involved the use of a level of physical abuse on certain indigenous Maya that many viewed as excessive and was at the very least unusual. Scores of Maya nobles were jailed pending interrogation, and large numbers of Maya nobles and commoners were subjected to examination under hoisting. What is hoisting? It's called strapado also. It is a form of torture wherein the victim's hands are tied behind their back and suspended by a rope attached to the wrists, typically resulting in dislocated shoulders. But it says this kind of torture would generally not last more than an hour without rest, as it would likely result in death. When you go down here and look at the history of this, it says that this device was thought to be used during the Salem witch trials in Massachusetts in 1692 to torture accused witches. Through the history books, which has all been a lie, so therefore, if it's a lie, then what's the truth? If it's a lie, then what's the truth?